Um, Namaskar, Sabai Janalai. A very warm hello to everyone who is watching here. I hope I'm live because I've never done this before, more like the idea behind it, but I'm okay. Anyway, I'm doing this. So as the format goes, I think I'll talk about myself, my journey as a writer, and then as it progresses, if and when the questions are put, then I think I'll answer those questions. So to talk about my journey as a writer, well, before that, I have to thank bOOkahOlics for this wonderful platform that they have provided. यहाँहरूले एकदमै सराहनीय एउटा काम गर्दै हुनुहुन्छ. Authors र readers हरूलाई एक साथमा ल्याएर एउटा यस्तो प्लेटफर्म दिन सक्नु भएको उहाँहरूको प्रयास एकदमै सराहनीय छ. I really appreciate them from the bottom of my heart, and I'm very happy that I'm here on this platform, sharing my ideas, and I'll be listening to you. We'll be having an interactive show. Hazur, so as the format goes, I'll be talking about my journey as a writer, as an author, and then if and when the questions come in, then I'll be answering those as well. I published my first book in the year 2016. I have been writing ever since I remember. लेख्नु त मैले एकदमै अगाडिदेखि नै स्टार्ट गरेको थिएँ. I think I must have been around 13 or 14 years of age when I started writing. I used to write all kinds of things. I used to write poems. I used to write opinion pieces. I used to write short stories, all kinds of writing. But I never considered writing as something that really defined me as who I was. I just took it up as a hobby, as something to just kill my time, or something which just came to me naturally. I just felt like pouring my feelings out, my thoughts on any subject, and I just used to write. I never even seriously thought of publishing until the year 2016, when people around me really started thinking that I should publish, because I had a flair for writing. म जब एमए गर्दै थिएँ त्यति बेला पनि मेरो इङ्ग्लिसमा एमए गर्दाखेरि पनि मेरो प्रोफेसर्सहरूले मलाई भन्नुहुन्थ्यो, यु हेभ अ फ्लेयर फर राइटिङ, तिमीले लेख्नुपर्छ, यु सुड यु मस्ट टेक इट अप सिरियसली. But I never thought it that way. त्यति बेला होला, in our times, writing was not taken as a profession by anyone, so mostly it was not taken up as a profession. So I think for that reason also, and then maybe I never had that kind of seriousness towards writing. अनि त्यही भएर मैले साह्रै यो विषयलाई seriously सोचिनँ. But I was always doing it. My reputation preceded my publication. People around me used to think that I have a flair for writing. Ramro lekhcha hu bhanera. And then I was the first ever monthly journal of Tezpur University. जहाँ म पढेको थिएँ. It's one of the most reputed universities in India today. I am an alumni of that university, and त्यहाँको first ever monthly journal को पनि editor म नै थिएँ. So that's how it all began, and I never seriously published in newspapers and all also. आस्ते I used to be a closet writer. And 2016, I was suddenly surrounded by good writers, people who encouraged me, people who motivated me, and then I was encouraged by them, and then I published my first book, which is a collection of short stories in English titled Of Myriad Voices. And people, हाम्रो community को मान्छे in from Assam, I think I'm the first one to have come up with a book, English book. अनि पोम्सहरूको बुक्सहरू सायद छ होला, but I think prose or short story, I came up with the first one. And the book received very warm reviews. The readers also liked the book a lot. It was discussed very warmly in critical circles also. अनि त्यहाँ एउटा feminist एउटा background चाहिँ छ that I have to accept. I have that kind of leaning towards feminist writing. I see exploitation all around me. I see domination. I see injustice. अनि मेरो thoughts-हरु move towards that direction, and that is what I try to write subconsciously. I don't know, it happens to me. In my poems also, people tell me that you are always talking about the underdog, and yes, the female underdog mostly. And of Myriad Voices book mapping, there is an underlying feminist theme where almost all the protagonists of the 10 short stories that are there in the book are females who are at different stages of their life, and who have एउटा यस्तो सिचुएसनमा उहाँहरू हुनुहुन्छ जहाँ they have to take up a difficult decision, or they have to move forward in life. So that's the kind of, it was very unconscious on my part actually. I never thought that I would make all my protagonists females, or I never thought that I would design my stories this way. So it just happened, and that's how the collection came about. After that I was offered a few books for editing and translations. My over started growing actually, and I was thinking about what to do next, what kind of book to write, which genre to get into, when there were a few proposals for translations which I really liked. म translation गरौँला भनेर सोचेको पनि थिइनँ, तर at this point in time I met Dr. Govindraj Bhattarai of Thiruvan University. He's a well-known name in Nepal and the world over. सरसँग मेरो भेटघाट भयो, अनि सरले मलाई encourage गर्नुभयो to get into translation. सरले भन्नुभयो that we need people who can translate from the Nepali language into English, and I think you should also take up some projects. So that's how I translated a few pieces for him, which he published for Nepal Academy. I translated a few things, and then I liked what I was doing. Translation पनि एउटा एकदमै मजा आउने विषय रहेछ जस्तो मलाई लाग्यो. मैले पहिला त्यति सिरियसली कहिले पनि ट्रान्सलेसनलाई हेरेको थिइनँ, and then I thought that okay, I am in a way serving my native language also in this way. मैले अगर लेख्न सक्दिनँ in my native language, in my mother tongue मा लेख्न सक्दिनँ भने पनि at least I'm doing something this way भन्ने खालको मलाई एउटा feeling पनि आयो, and then I took up translation. The first project that I took up was translating an Assamese book titled Domphu from Assamese to English. Assamese चाहिँ मेरो state language हो. It's the language that I speak along with the native tongue. हामी यहाँ त we are multilingual in Assam. We are multilingual. We speak Okhomia, we speak our mother tongue of course, and we speak Hindi, we speak English. So हामी 4-5 वटा language एक साथ में हाम्रो हुन्छ. So Dompu, I took up that project, and it was a very interesting project in the sense that Dompu Mache, how a Nepali soldier from Daman in Nepal comes down to Assam as a soldier. He enrolls himself with the British platoon, and then he comes to Assam during the Second World War. And his trials and tribulations as a soldier in the war, and how he finally comes and settles down in Assam. त्यो चाहिँ अब एउटा स्टोरी जो कि मलाई एकदमै क्लोज टु माई हार्ट जस्तो लाग्यो, किनभने माइग्रेसन हेज अलवेज बिन a fact of human lives. Migration त हाम्रो भइरहेको हुन्छ. हाम्रो forefathersहरू पनि they must have migrated from some place. People keep on moving from one place to the other in search of so many things. अनि कसरी ती दमनका soldier एकजना from being a soldier in the Second World War, he comes and settles down in Assam and makes this land his own, and how he never goes back to his homeland in Nepal. The Dampu is a story of that person, his life, his love, his gains and his losses. So that book was very important from the perspective of a Nepali speaker in Assam. किनभने हाम्रो यहाँ माइग्रेसन त चलिरहेको चिज हो, यो debatable also in so many sense. अनि this novel kind of establishes the fact that the settlers who have come down from Nepal have always regarded this land as their own. उनीहरू they may have come to Assam for various reasons of their own. They may have migrated for so many reasons, but at the end of the day, what the fact remains that they have always loved this land, and they are loyal towards the land which they have now accepted as their own. भन्ने त्यो कुरो एस्टाब्लिश यो नोभलले गरेको लागि I was motivated, I was encouraged. I thought that I should give it a try, and मैले त्यसलाई translation मेरो हातमा लिए, and I'm very glad to say that this particular novel got released in Nepal in February 2020, just before the COVID season started. I was lucky enough to be invited to Nepal for the release of this book. I was there in Nepal Academy also, and we released this book. I was very I was very happy on seeing that एउटा नेपाली प्रोटागनिस्टको बुक एउटा आसामिज एकजना स्रष्टाले लेखेर, and then again someone like me translates it into English, and then it goes back to Nepal for its launch. So I think it was a very exciting moment for all of us. Srashta pani Rumi Laskar Bora, the original author of the book, was also there with us, and we had a very nice time there. It was a very scintillating session. And after that, the other book that I translated is Swadesh, My Motherland, which is again हाम्रो आसामको एकजना नेपाली स्पिकिङ स्रष्टा गीता उपाध्याय हुनुहुन्छ. उहाँको नाम धेरैजनाले जान्नुभएको छ. शी इज एन इन्टरनेसनल नेम. उहाँले एउटा किताब लेख्नु भएको छ on Chabilal Upadhyay, who is a freedom fighter, a Nepali speaking freedom fighter. He was also a descendant of a migrant. His father had immigrated from Nepal to Assam. अनि उहाँले कसरी he takes up the cudgels in his own hands, and freedom movement मा कसरी he takes a very pioneering role, and how he motivates people in order to get into the freedom movement. यो बुक पनि मलाई एकदमै जरुरी जस्तो लाग्यो to translate. I thought that I should translate this book because it's important for people living people who have come down from other places and settled as like migrated to some other place. It's important for them to know their history. It's also important for other people to know their contributions for the land that they now are part of. So it's not diasporic literature. Of course, it is not. It is a literature of the land that they are part of. अनि त्यो हिस्ट्री हामीले जान्नु पनि जरुरी छ, जनाउनु पनि जरुरी छ जस्तो मलाई लागेको थियो. That's why I I made it a point to translate that novel, and the novel is being published by Sahitya Academy, and in a few days from now the novel should be out in the market. Like writers, I believe are very are very experimental. They like to experiment with different genres. They try their hand in every kind of genre, like poetry, prose, novel, short stories, सबै खालको चिजहरू लेख्नलाई राइटर्सहरूलाई इच्छा हुन्छ, मन हुन्छ. And in between, when I was doing all these prose, when I was doing the translation, when I was writing the short stories and all, poetry was something which was always happening to me since a very young age. I always used to write. Publishing never came to my mind. I never thought of being a published author. It just happened accidentally. That poetry was always there, a part of me. And I had been writing poetry. And herein the role of social media would, I think, be relevant because social media ले पनि हामीलाई एउटा खालको encouragement, एउटा खालको motivation चाहिँ पाइदो रहेछ जस्तो खालको मलाई लाग्यो. Initially I was a little hesitant in order to post my poems on social media, in order to share my poems, but later on I started doing that, and when I started doing that I received a lot of feedback from people. A lot of people started saying that, okay, fine, you write well, you kind of portray the emotions which so many people feel, and I think you are a people's poet. So these kind of comments again motivated me, encouraged me, and then I started taking up poetry also as a serious genre, as something which I could do. Ani यसै बीचमा I am ready with a collection of English poems, my own collections. Naam Identity, Space, Memories and Thoughts. So what you find in this anthology would be a collection which talks about identity, as in identity of a woman. The woman would not necessarily, of course everyone knows, would not necessarily be the poet only. Identity, space, memories and thoughts. So these are the four, I think, main ingredients that you'll find in the collection. This is what form the background of the collection, and the poems are based on these different thought processes. Agi jasरी मैले भने I have an underlying feminist tone in my writing. I don't do it consciously. I don't look for words, or I don't look for topics or expressions which would categorize me as such, but then it just happens to me. There are these issues, these very unjust issues of exploitation and domination, which have always moved me. And at the end of the day, when I sit down to write, these are the very things that give me the required impetus to write. So consciously nahuda pani, subconsciously it is there, underlying. It must be there in the mind. So when you see so much of exploitation and domination around you, I think you are bound to be somehow touched by that, and I think this is what comes out from your subconscious psyche. That's what happens to me. And I think there was a question which I Yes, questions will be most welcome. At this point, there is a question. Are you a poet who puts in paper spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings, or you express emotions recollected in tranquility? Well, this is very in a way, yes, I'm very, very spontaneous. I get moved by what I see around me. I think I'm a very impulsive kind of a writer. I have not till date really thought about a topic that I will write about. It's not a very conscious kind of writing that I do. People have come up to me with proposals to write on various themes, which I somehow cannot. So like if you say that, okay, fine, maybe I'm not experienced enough to do that. I don't know. I'm a very instinctive and impulsive kind of a writer. So people, if someone tells me that, okay, fine, you have to write a poem on this particular topic, then I think I'll be completely at sea. I'll be at a loss of words. I'll not know what to do, what not to do. So maybe I don't have that kind of expertise, that kind of experience. So I just write on themes which move me. I have to be really moved. I have to be really touched, and the words have to come to me from somewhere. And I do not edit what I have written. I think that is one area where I'm where I still need to learn from someone. A friend of mine once told me that you could go back to your poems and you could change a few words here and there, maybe change a few lines here and there, and then I think your poems would be completely different from what they are right now. I try to do that. Honestly, I try to do that. I try to go back to what I have written. I saw if I could really change the words, and I do not have a thesaurus also. But of course, with online, the online thing, everything is possible. I tried to do that, but somehow I could not. I could not play with the words. I could not change the words. So I just left it at that, and I felt that, okay, if my poem is not good enough, okay, fine, it's not good enough, but I cannot do anything about it. It is something which has come out from the bottom of my heart. It is something which is there as a testimony to what I feel, and what I have experienced in life. I have seen through my eyes. Maybe it's not my own experience, but someone else's, but something which I have seen and felt and realized. So I cannot do anything about it. I cannot change the words. So I even though I tried a lot, I could not do it. So I don't know, someone may, I haven't found a guide yet who would say what to do and what not to do. People often tell me that, okay, ठिक छ, तिमीले अगर त्यसै राख्छौ भने त्यस्तै राख न त खालको पनि मलाई भन्नुभयो. But of course कसैले भन्नुहुन्छ you should maybe you should try to change a few words here and there. I haven't been able to do that. So when I thought of publishing this collection of poems, I spoke to a few people. I asked them to have a look at my poems and tell me if I needed to do something about them. किनभने आफै चाहिँ मैले त्यो गर्न सकिनँ. मैले आफै चाहिँ आफ्नो वर्ड्सहरू एडिट गर्न सकिनँ. I could not do anything about them. So I don't know, maybe you can call me writer, but somehow I think I'm a very impulsive kind of a writer. You cannot give me a topic and I cannot write on that. So that is one area maybe I'm lacking in that. Yes, I think there is another question. Who motivated or encouraged you to become an author, poet? Motivation, the first and foremost motivation was my family. My immediate family, my parents, my brothers, sisters, my husband, then my extended family, my cousins, uncle, aunt, everyone. They believed in me. They thought that I had it in me to go forward and publish my books and establish myself as a published author. And yes, there were a few well-meaning individuals, एक दुईजनाहरूको नाम म डेफिनेटली लिन चाहन्छु देयर इज ज्ञान बहादुर छेत्री अङ्कल उहाँ एकजना आसामको एकदमै रेप्युटेड स्रष्टा हुनुहुन्छ उहाँले पनि मलाई एकदमै एन्करेज गर्नुभएको हो देयर इज प्रोफेसर गोविन्दराज भट्टराई सरले पनि एकदमै एन्करेज गर्नुभएको छ सधैँ एन्करेज गरिरहनुहुन्छ सरले हि किप्स अन कलिङ नाउ अल्सो हि कल्स अप के लेख्दैछौ के गर्दैछौ हि किप्स अन आस्किङ सो अनि यहाँ राजेन्द्र भण्डारी सर आउनुभएको छ भर्खर लाइभमा देखेँ नमस्कार सर आई थिङ्क सर इज अनदर पर्सन हु किप्स अन एन्करेजिङ मी अहिले सरले एकदमै एन्करेज गर्दै हुनुहुन्छ मलाई टु मुभ अहेड विथ द काइन्ड अफ पोम्स द्याट आइ एम राइटिङ सो आई मोटिभेसन चाहिँ हमेसा फ्रेन्ड्स फ्यामिली एन्ड near and dear ones, but a foremost motivation. After that, the second motivation comes from the readers. When people read your work and when they comment, when they say that, okay, fine, you've really done a good work, I've been touched by your work, keep on writing. So that again gives me another kind of motivation. And as I said earlier, I talk about the downtrodden, the exploited, the dominated, and there have been many women who come to me and say that, okay, you are kind of becoming a voice for the voiceless. Of course, I would have wanted them to come to write their own stories and tell their own narratives. Somehow, if I'm representing their woes, and if they feel that I'm doing justice to what they feel, that is, I think, again another kind of motivation, which is very, very encouraging for a writer. There is another question which I would like to take. How much writing and how much editing goes to bring out a book? Do they function on an equal basis? Well, in my case, I really would not know because in my case there is very little editing that has gone. Whatever books that I have written till now, whatever translation I have done, whatever stories I have come up with, whatever poems that I have come up with, I think there is zero editing. There is zero editing. Even the editors, even the publishers who have their own editors, in-house editors, have never told me that, okay, we need to edit this or that. Typos every writer has areas where he or she lacks. I don't know if any of the editor did any kind of grammatical tic-tac garidinu bhayo ki. I really would not know that. But yes, धेरै जगह even when I edited a few books, I did a lot of editing, of course in consultation with the authors. Editing ta huncha, it is like some kind of applying makeup मजाले लगाउनु. The structure is there, of course. अलिकति कहिले काहीँ थप त हुन्छ होला जस्तो लाग्छ. And then your views also change, I think, over a period of a length of time. Your views also change, and then I think some kind of editing is required. अहिलेसम्म चाहिँ I have not done that kind of thing to any of my writing. I don't know, in future maybe yes. And at this point, I would like to talk about a fiction that I am writing at present. Fiction ko naam chai ekdam tentatively titled Being Unbeing, but I think I'll go on with this name. I'm quite liking it aile. So this book is basically on the Nepali speaking people in Assam. Nepali speaking people in Assam, decades but generations but they have been living in Assam, but then there are always issues. अहिले पनि अब NRC को कुरा आयो, अनि त्यसको अगाडि पनि एउटा भाषा आन्दोलन भएको थियो. असम एकर्ड भन्ने साइन भयो. त्यस पछाडि भाषा आन्दोलनमा दे वान्टेड अल द फरेनर्स टु डिपार्ट. अहिले पनि अब NRCमा पनि हामीले त्यही नै देख्दैछौँ. सो in the minds of the Nepali speaking people, even if they have been living in Assam since generations, एउटा अलिकति एउटा डर जस्तो, एउटा कतै एउटा हामीलाई पो भोलि निकाल्ने हो कि यहाँबाट भन्ने जस्तो एउटा फिलिङ. बिकज आई थिङ्क आवर पिपल आर भेरी नाइभ even though they lived in this place for generations, they did not. So many of them do not have proper papers. So many of them do not have legal papers of any kind in order to justify their citizenship. तर त्यस्तो खालको एउटा एटमोस्फियर देख्दा मलाई लागेको कतिपय कुराहरू, why every time a community of people who has given their life, their loyalty, dedication, सबै थोक एउटा समाजलाई दिए पछाडि पनि किन त्यो कम्युनिटीले चाहिँ हर हमेशा आफूलाई प्रुभ गर्न जरुरत पर्छ? Why is it that every time there is talk of some foreigner को कुरो आयो भने सबै नेपाली स्पिकिङ मान्छेहरूको मनमा कता 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 एउटा डर भए जस्तो situation, to the extent that now people want to say that okay, we are not Nepali speaking anymore, we are Gorkha people. So these are issues, these may be political, these may be some एकदम political नै भन्छु, but this may be about विभाजन ल्याउने कुराहरू जस्तो होला. But I see the kind of fear that is there in the minds of people because of these reasons. Where do we go from here if not? भन्ने खालको एउटा जुन डर मैले देखिरहेको छु, त्यस्तो खालको एउटा लेख्न म कोसिस गर्दैछु through the eyes of a young girl who is growing up in Assam in the 80s and who sees her family, her parents going through this turmoil. So I'm trying to write that. I hope I can do justice to what I have taken up. Madhuban Portal. Experience editing is necessary, but I also never did and never revised to except on typo. Last few years I started editing and feel it really improves. हजुर मलाई पनि लागेको चाहिँ त्यस्तै हो पोरलज्यू. I think editing kind of reinforces certain things. You need a good editor sometimes. तर कहिले पनि अहिलेसम्म चाहिँ मैले I have never had the I don't know necessity to do that, or my editors also never felt the necessity to improve on what I have already done or change what I have already done. अनि यसैमा एउटा कुरा म भन्न चाहन्छु, I think networking has become very, very important nowadays. Promoting the books. I have been a very naive kind of a writer. I have been writing only since the past 4 or 5 years. 2016 बाट नै म published author भएको as of 2020. So 4 or 5 years is not a very long time. I feel that I am a very naive kind of a writer because I never tried to promote myself. I never promoted the books, and even my publishers also somewhere they lacked in this area. So I think यो एउटा aggressive kind of marketing जुन हुन्छ, aggressive kind of promotion जुन हुन्छ, त्यो पनि चाहिन्छ होला किताबहरूलाई वा authors-हरूलाई जस्तो खालको मलाई हिजो आज लाग्न थाल्दैछ, त्यस्तो खालको लाग्न थाल्दैछ. So I don't know how to. I'm happy all these years. I'm happy with the kind of recognition that has come to me as an author, as a writer. But somehow I feel that यो हाम्रो Nepali speaking people scattered in all over the world जो छ, I think people who write in English especially, so before bOOkahOlics, I don't know if we ever had a platform like this where we could come together and share our views. अनि एउटा interaction जस्तो हुने खालको चाहिँ before bOOkahOlics थिएन होला जस्तो मलाई लाग्छ. अनि यस्तो हुन पनि जरुरी छ, somewhere त्यो एउटा platform create होस् जहाँ writerले पनि आफ्नो if there are any false प्रब्लम्सहरू छ भने पनि त्यो रिडर्सहरूसँग क्लियर एउटा कन्भर्सेसन हुन चाहिँ एकदमै जरुरी छ जस्तो लाग्छ. एन्ड आई फिल द्याट प्रमोट हुनु पनि जरुरी छ जस्तो लाग्छ. आई थिङ्क वी निड टु पुल इच अदर अप, वी निड टु हेल्प इच अदर कम अप. यहाँ I'm looking at some of the queries. Hazard, I think some of your poems. I don't know if you'd be interested in listening to my poems. I think I would love to read out a few of my poems. There are so many of them. Duita topic which are very close to my heart. One is of course women, and the other is old age. यो ओल्ड एज भन्ने चिजले मलाई एकदमै आई वुड नट से फ्यासिनेट बट कस्तो खालको एउटा आई फिल सम काइन्ड अफ I feel moved by the plight of old people around me. I see their loneliness. एउटा भरापुरा फ्यामिलीमा पनि उहाँहरूको loneliness, but उहाँहरूको issues, I can feel it. And I have written quite a number of poems on this. I would like to read out one of my poems, which is Alzheimer. Alzheimer, it is in remembrance of my late grandmother, मेरो paternal grandmother, घरको हजुरआमा. उहाँलाई Alzheimer's भएको थियो. It was in the 90s. त्यति बेला एल्जाइमर्स भन्ने कन्सियसनेस पनि थिएन, हामीलाई पनि खास थाहा थिएन यो के कुरो हो. मेन्टल इलनेस भन्ने त्यतिखेर त इट युज टु बी अ भेरी एलियन वर्ड. अनि मान्छेहरू भन्दै थिए लु उता फलानी आमै त अब के भन्नु मेन्टल भइछन्. And it used to hurt me a lot, and I could feel it. I could feel her pain. I could feel her angst, and at the same time I could see the helplessness in my parents and also in us as small children. So they ले encourage भएको एउटा poem मैले हिजो अस्ति लेखेको. Let me just read it out. Alzheimer's. The four-poster bed in my grandmother's room holds her petite Alzheimer's thoughts. The four-poster bed in my grandmother's room holds her petite Alzheimer's thoughts. We have always shared a love-hate relationship. Hate more, love less, or is it the other way around? My own schizophrenic soul refusing to let go. Bygones. I stand close to the creaking bed. I stand close to the creaking bed, very close to the skin and bones of what she was left of. I stand close to the creaking bed, very close to the skin and bones of what she was left of. She must have been washed in Dettol. She must have been washed in Dettol. The smell nauseates me. I reach out my arms and try to smoothen those horribly scissored hair on her soft head. I reach out my arms and try to smoothen those horribly scissored hair on her soft head. She massages my hair with her coarse hands, but that was before she started pulling my hair and cursing me. She doesn't respond to my touches. She doesn't realize. Just mumbles a faint something. Is she calling out my name, or could it be that of one of my sisters? I ruminate. At that very instant, she opens her rheumy eyes and stares dully. No, stares with hatred. Ah, the schizophrenic self, how I waver. The big vermilion dot on my newlywed forehead is what she stares at. She mocks, laughs almost. Is this why you struggle so hard? Next year you will come with milk in your breast and stains of motherhood on your dress. Grandmother, I stare hard. This is what you paved for me. This is what you destined. I could travel no more. Erase boundaries no more. I cry silent tears of hate and remorse. She wins. Never. We are all born to lose. She turns her defeated face away from me, shuts her blank eyes, reviving her Alzheimer's memories and dusty thoughts. Thank you. This is one poem which is very close to my heart. It talks about old age and it talks about old age and then the helplessness and again the same question of how over the decades this exploitation, we have not been able to do away with this exploitation, this domination. So this is one poem which is close enough to my heart. I think Madhuban Podalji will have problem with inshallah sunnah. I hope I'm audible to everyone. I don't know. Should I be reading one more of my poems? I really have no idea. Kilanath Sharma, Dr. Kilanath Sharma is also here. Hello Dada, how are you? So thank you for watching. I think I'll read out one more of my poems, which is again based on the exploitation, domination that I see. Is this love after all? I try to look beautiful, even smile perhaps, when he hit me hard. I smeared my lips pink and rouged my coarse skin white. Rajendra Bhandari sir likhne hua. So the issues for upcoming Nobel and issues of elderly people like me, no. You are roaring to go, sir. Ekdam. I'm reading. I try to look beautiful, even smile perhaps, when he hit me hard. I smeared my lips pink and rouged my coarse skin white, while I waited whole evenings for the man to come home to me and make me feel wife. I wanted to look beautiful when the punches tightened. I wanted to look beautiful when the punches tightened. I tried to ease the black eyes, the lumpy belly I did suck, covered up ugly patches of sagging fat and glowing wounds. I wanted to look beautiful, as lissom and supple as the mistress did. I wanted to smile as he entered the door, inebriated with the lips and breasts of her. I wanted to smile as he entered the door, inebriated with the lips and breasts of her. I wanted him to see me and say, "You are beautiful still." I wanted to look beautiful for fear the child will wake up and hate me for my cowardice. I wanted to look beautiful for fear of the neighbors' pity and the hushed, "Poor woman." I wanted to look beautiful for fear of the look of despair on my mother's shrunken face. I scream, I cry, all without a voice. I rave, I rant, all without a voice. I wish I could think no more. I wish I could stop feeling. Or give me my voice. Suffuse me with all your strength. But the love that binds so and blinds so, the love of life, of roof over the head, of a belly that sleeps in grains, a place to call one's own. But the love that binds so and blinds so, the love of life, of roof over the head, of a belly that sleeps in grains, a place to call one's own. The beatings will be few and far between. Meanwhile, the sun too grows, and I hope will save my day. So that's the kind of writing that comes automatically to me when I see women around me with swollen faces and bruised bodies. So these are the thoughts that come to me, and when I try to create something, when I try to write something, these are the thoughts that come to my mind foremost. So that is how subconsciously I write on topics like this, and I'm happy to be doing this. I'm not complaining. Okay, so as my journey progressed after the publication of first collection of short stories, then the translations came, and then there were offers for collaborations with other authors from around the world, and some I could not take up for lack of time, and some I am in talks with. सबैजनासँग सबै खालको कोल्याबोरेसन हुनु पनि पोसिबल छैन, and then there are offers of editing, so it's an exciting period for me at this point in time, from all angles. I'm creating my own stuff, I'm translating also, but translation is one thing which I think is more difficult than creating your own original stuff. मलाई चाहिँ त्यस्तो खालको लाग्यो. पहिला एउटा खालको मान्छेहरुमा सोच हुन्थ्यो ट्रान्सलेसन इज इजी, त्यो त अलरेडी त्यही छ, टेक्स्ट इज अलरेडी देयर, यु जस्ट हैव टु चेन्ज इट टु सम अदर ल्याङ्ग्वेज. बट आई थिंक that is not the case. When you are translating, you are not just translating the words, you are not just translating the sentences. I think you are translating an entire culture from one language to the other, and I think that's the most difficult thing about translating. And you have to be true to the original text. You have to be true, so that later on when you read it, you don't feel that you have done an injustice to the original text, to the original culture that was there in the text. So when I was translating Dompu, Dompu is a novel, जो कि protagonist is a Nepali of Nepal, अनि त्यहाँ तामाङ कल्चरको कुरो छ सबै. तामाङ सेलोबाट लिएर सेलरोटी बनाउने विधि, अनि दिवालीमा कस्तो के हुन्छ, सबै थोक त्यहाँ छ. बट द राइटर इज एन आसामिज लेडी, आसामको लेडी हुनुहुन्छ राइटर चाहिँ. उहाँले आसामिजमा त्यो बुक लेख्नु भएको छ, तर भाइटीको सेलरोटी, तामाङ सेलो जम्मै इन्क्लुड गर्नुभएको छ. उहाँको रिसर्च पनि एकदमै दह्रो मान्नुपर्छ. अनि द्याट थिङ आई वाज ट्राइङ टु ट्रान्सलेट इन्टु इङ्ग्लिस. अब इभन दो आई स्पिक नेपाली, तर समहाउ त्यो तामाङ सेलोहरू जस्तो चिज चाहिँ मैले नदेखेको चिज. अब हामीले यता आसामतिर हामीले त्यो देखेका थिएनौँ. So I also had to do some kind of research from my side. अनि उहाँको लेखाइ त छँदै थियो, the text was there with me, but it was very very difficult for me to translate. अनि त्यति बेला I realized that translation is not simply yeah, I think a question pani aeko recha. I think I missed it. What do you have to say about transcreation? Yes, how the translation banda, I think transcreation is a better word. So at that time I realized that I think this approach that, you know, the text is already there, त्यसलाई त simply अर्को ल्याङ्ग्वेजमा सार्नु मात्रै त हो. It's a kind of transferring one from one language to the other. त्यो चाहिँ एकदमै हैन. I think we are translating an entire culture, and we are setting it up in a completely different language. So we have to be extremely cautious. We have to work very hard, and it requires a very high level of creativity. I think creativity along with a strong knowledge of both the languages, original language and source language. दुईटैमा तपाईको एकदमै डरो एउटा जबसम्म तपाईको हात हुँदैन, I think you should not take up translation. So after doing 2 translations, one from Assamese to English and the other from Nepali to English, I realized that once you take up translation, only one has enough time in hand and the required zeal. And of course, you should love the text that you want to translate. You should be in love with the text. You should be in love with the subject matter in hand in order for you to translate it and translate it well enough. Hazur, यहाँ एउटा question आएको छ. Do you think spontaneity is vital in writing poetry? Will too much thinking is put into creating a poem? Will it not be a cosmetic one? Hazur, this is a debate, I think, which will never end. This is in my creative writing classes also we have these kind of debates. Of course, my creative writing workshops I conduct in different places. And I think this is one debate which is never going to end, because on one hand we will have people like me who write very impulsively and who do not edit much, who do not go into much editing, and there are other people. I have my own friends who first they will write something, they'll create something, and then they'll go back, they'll change words in strategic places, they will bring in words from different the kind of words that they would like to do it like a cosmetic surgeon would, and then the end product is beautiful. I cannot deny the fact that the end product is not beautiful. So I will never say that my work is better than theirs. I cannot say that, because even though yes, they may have spent more time in editing than I did, they may have done a lot of research in changing one word for the other. But why product pani, it's no less than me, and it's no less beautiful than someone who writes impulsively. Garda, I think let us leave it on the readers. Readers are like kasto man parcha, ke ramro lagcha, ani the end product le ta थाहा पनि पाइदैन होला, whether it was tampered with, whether it was edited, or whether you impulsively लेखेको हो. I think the readers will just write the piece that is there in front of his or her eyes, and then will comment or like or not like that particular thing. So I think it is as it comes, as it suits. I think that's how I would like to take it at this moment. And so yes, we're talking about Hazur Pempa Tamangjiule लेख्नु भएको छ, something interesting for me to hear, the fusion of Tamang Selo with Hazur Tamang Selo with he hasn't completed the sentence. Chandra Timsina, I have read a little about you, but I find a wider scope you cover. What really makes you imagine the range of your writings? Chandra Timsina le leख्नु भएको छ, I find a wider scope you cover. What really makes you imagine the range of your writings? I wish I had more time in hand so that I could really imagine and really spend more time on my writing. I honestly wish there were more hours in a day, because after everything that I do, I'm editor-in-chief at Tabs magazine. I'm also a board member, so I have other responsibilities also. I'm a mother, I have a full household to look after, and there are social obligations. त्यो सबै थोकलाई भ्याएर I wish there was more time for me to really sit down and imagine and gather my thoughts and create more. In this 4 or 5 years, your 8-9 book Jun I have created, I think I could have done more. The kind of thoughts that keep coming to me all the time, I wish I could put them all down to paper. त्यो चाहिँ अब possible हुँदैन because of lack of time. And what really makes you imagine the range of your writings, I really don't have any answer to that, but it just happens. It just happens, yes. Sarita Sharma writes, end products look beautiful or really beautiful? Hazur, see, I would not know. When I read a poem, I really don't go into the mind of the poet. I really don't think about how the poet must have created that particular poem or that particular write-up. I just look at it from my perspective, whether it appeals to me or not, whether the words that are there have been edited, have been taken up from a thesaurus and changed with the words which were there originally. That really does not matter to me. If it is appealing enough, if it is something which gives me pleasure, I'm all for it. I'm all for it, and I really and I think once the product is out for the readers to see and read and analyze, I think the author is dead at that point. So it's I think it's useless to debate on whether it was heavily edited or it just happened impulsively. If at the end of the day it gives pleasure to the readers and it is a good read, then yes, anything is permissible, anything is all right. So I think. Yes, I'm so happy that there are so many of you watching me here live today. It's such a different kind of a feeling to be able to talk about my journey as a writer, because this is one thing which I have never done before. I have been on different forums, I have been on different platforms, I have spoken about different issues. I've spoken about the work the kind of work that I do, but my journey as an author, why I write, what kind of writing I do, what motivates me to write, this kind of talks I have never had. So I again would like to thank the bOOkahOlics team for creating this beautiful platform where not only me but I've been watching the programs. A lot of writers come, they share the views, and I think we have a platform to share our views and all, to connect with each other, which is, I think, very important. I think I should stop the discussion here if there are no more questions coming. Let me just do a quick check, and I think I missed my internet was showing up and I missed a few things, but I think yes, there are no more queries. So Mukul Dahalji writes that he liked the talk. Rajna Bandari sir is there, Tikaram Ji is there, okay. I think how do you rate Assamese Nepalese literature vis-a-vis Assamese language literature? Can you enlighten us about the extent of influence of Assamese literature to Assamese Nepali literature or otherwise? How do you rate Assamese Nepalese literature vis-a-vis Assamese language literature? Can you enlighten us about the extent of influence of Assamese literature to Assamese Nepali literature or otherwise? मैले चाहिँ नेपालीमा अझैसम्म लेख्न सकेकै छैन. मेरो I never got the opportunity to learn our native language at school. I was born and brought up in Nagaland, where हिन्दीहरू यस्तो कुनै पनि सब्जेक्टहरू थिएन त्यति बेला. नेपाली त एकदम दूरैको कुरा गर्दा whatever Nepali I learned to read or write, I learned it at home, because my parents tried to make me learn the native language. So मैले चाहिँ अहिलेसम्म म असमिजमा पनि लेख्न सकेको छैन, नेपालीमा पनि लेख्न सकेको छैन, because these are two languages I cannot write properly. I read त्यसमा छैन. अनि यहाँले सोध्नु भएको छ असमिज नेपालीज लिटरेचर अनि असमिज ल्याङ्ग्वेज लिटरेचर. हजुर, आसामको नेपाली लिटरेचर इज कमिङ अफ एज एट दिस पोइन्ट. द्याट इज वाट आई वुड लाइक टु से. पहिलेदेखि धेरैजना हुनुहुन्छ, उहाँहरूले लेख्दै आउनुभएको छ. दे हेभ बिन क्रिएटिङ माइलस्टोन्स, डिफ्रेन्ट काइन्ड्स अफ माइलस्टोन्स, एन्ड अफ कोर्स यस, दे हेभ अलवेज बिन इन्फ्लुएन्स्ड बाई असमिया लिटरेचर. असमिज लिटरेचर हेज अलवेज इन्सपायर्ड देम. किनभने हाम्रो यहाँ चाहिँ अब ल्याङ्ग्वेज, मेन ल्याङ्ग्वेज अफ द स्टडी इज आसामिज है. हिजो आज प्राइभेट स्कुल्सहरू आएर इङ्ग्लिस हेज बिकम अ मिडियम अफ इन्स्ट्रक्सन, तर यसको भन्दा अगाडि चाहिँ आसामिज वाज द ल्याङ्ग्वेज अफ इन्स्ट्रक्सन. अनि आसामिजमा उहाँहरूले पढेर दे वर एक्सपोज टु आसामिज लिटरेचर बिफोर दे स्टार्टेड राइटिङ इन नेपाली. So obviously influence त एकदमै छ. अनि नेपाली writing from Assam is coming of age. There are exciting things lined up in the coming years. 4-5 वर्षमा I think we will see a completely new era of Nepali writing coming up from Assam. And how do you like translating your own work from one language to another? Madhuban पौडेलजीले लेख्नु भएको छ हजुर मलाई मेरो कलेक्सन अफ सर्ट स्टोरिज अफ मिरवेयर भोइसेसलाई नेपालीमा ट्रान्सलेट गर भनेर धेरैजनाले भन्नुभएको छ if someone is willing to translate I would be very happy तर मेरो आफूले चाहिँ मैले सायद सक्दिनँ होला किनभने I do not have that kind of expertise in Nepali I do not have the kind of expertise to write त्यही भएर त्यो चाहिँ this is one project which I would not be willing to take up म साह्रै यसमा चाहिँ हजुर if someone is willing to of course we could always collaborate on that and Chandra Timsinajiले लेख्नु भएको छ and so far Dumphu is concerned I recall the few lines I composed after having my first reading of it. It is a wonderful work originally which you made global. Hazur, thank you so much. Dumphu is a beautiful work. I think all Nepali people living in any part of the world should read the book, not just because it is the story of a Nepali person, of a Nepali immigrant, but because it is a universal story, and at the same time it is a story of a person in Nepal, written by a person who lives in Assam, who speaks and writes Assamese. So I think it's a very interesting combination, and then it gets translated by a Nepali speaking person, an Ahomia Nepali. I consider myself an Assamese Nepali. I mean Assamese Nepali. So I think translated by a Nepali speaking Assamese girl. So I think it's a very interesting combination. So you should definitely read it. Sarita Sharma ji writes regarding range of imagination. Writers are often classified in genres. What is your thoughts regarding this? Why should the creative minds be classified like this? Hazur, मैले अघि एउटा यो जनरको कुरो गरेको थिएँ. I think writers are very they want to explore different genres. Writers, most of the writers, they are not satisfied, or they don't limit themselves to one kind of genre. So I think it's good in a way if you can do justice to all kinds of genre. Why not? So why should the creative minds be classified like this? Of course, yes. I think the writers should have full freedom to explore whatever genre they would want to. And if they feel that they can do justice, then they should definitely take up all kinds of genre. For me, at this moment, I am a short story writer, a poet, and I'm trying to write a fiction, which is more than 100 pages now. So I'm reading and writing at the same time. So in another maybe 6 months, if everything goes off well, then I should be able to have it in print. What is your strength in writing? I think that this could be something something that God bestowed on me. I really don't have to think when I write. When I sit down, it just comes to me. So in a way, I feel that it is God gifted. That's why I don't tamper with my writing, with whatever comes at that moment. And I leave it on the readers to say, but yes, I really don't have to invest a lot of time in thinking, in creating what I want to write. It just comes to me. Mukul Dahal writes, it's really interesting to know about Dumphu, Tamang culture in Assamese language. Hazur, it's really an interesting read. Is Dumphu available in Amazon? Hazur, it was available. Feri bichma stock not available भन्ने पनि देखाएको थियो, तर I think it's available now. A lot of people have read it, and the reviews are coming to me. Yes, it's a very interesting read. Hazur. So I think we are coming to Samdarshi. Sarita is also watching. We share the same name. So Samdarshi Sarita, like hello. I met her when she was here, and Hazur, I think we are almost the end of the session. So I would once again like to thank everyone for coming online in spite of everyone's busy schedules and encouraging me. I think this is how it is supposed to be done. I was there used to be a moderator always, so this is my first live experience. So I think this is how I'm supposed to end it. I really don't know. Okay, I think I'll just end with a small poem which has a Nepali flavor to it. Gray vanne. The sweet smell of dhakkane invades my nostrils. Is Tej already here? Tej aउँदै पनि छ होला सायद. My weakened bones want to stir. Why is the house so silent, almost eerie? Where have all my children disappeared? I want to call out, seek them out, one by one. Why does no one answer? A tap dribbles somewhere. The autumn sun chasing the flowering berries enters my room. Where are the children? What if they have gone towards the pond? My fear lunges at me. I try to move. An uneasy pain pulls me down. Don't move, shouts the nurse. Strange faces stare down at me. These are not my children. Where are the children? Why don't I hear them laugh, cry, argue, sulk? Why is it so empty here? I close my tired eyes. Everything is grey. My demented mind conjures happy endings. Escape life. Thank you so much. Yaharu sabaijanalai namaskar. Thank you so much. I had a great session. I had a great time with you all. Thank you.